Hello everyone and welcome. Make a cup of your favorite drink and get comfortable because this is a wonderful time for new stories from Yellow Cat. Send your own stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet, and let's get started. What is the silliest reason you've ever had to fire a staff member? Part 4. My spouse and I experienced this when we were living in South America. Over the years, we had many different maids, but this one took the cake. It seems that she was a capable worker. She performed her duty satisfactorily, cooking and cleaning as well. But she was hired on a daily basis. She came in the mornings, did her job, and left in the afternoon. And since we were looking to have an in-house maid instead, in-house maids are very popular in South America. They live with you in your house and handle all household chores like meal preparation, house cleaning, button replacement on your clothing, etc. Every week, they take one day off, usually on Sunday, and return the following day. Many maids prefer this type of work because they can keep almost all of their pay for themselves and don't have to pay for rent, food, or utilities. Nevertheless, we discover Lita, our new in-house maid, who would take over for our daily maid Carmen. It was Carmen's last day, and as usual, after her shift ended, we were getting the money ready to pay her, and we realized we were short on about 50 cents. My spouse then said, "No issue, I toss my spare change into a small wooden chest every day. I'll go get the 50 cents over there." When my spouse goes to the small wooden chest, which resembled a tiny toy pirate chest and is typically stuffed to the gills with change, she discovers that it's empty. This is what my wife told me. When I questioned Carmen about it, she said she had no idea what was in the chest. Then, for whatever reason, I had to call a friend. I just hit redial since I clearly remembered that was the last person I had called, and an odd long-distance number appeared. In South America, long-distance calls are very expensive. Long-distance phone calls lasting 2 or 3 hours can cost hundreds of dollars. Since my wife had just returned home and it had been just the two of us at the house all afternoon, I decided to confront Carmen about it. She became enraged at my accusation and denied making the phone call herself. "Okay, this is what we're gonna do," I then said to her. "I'm gonna call that strange number and press redial. I'm gonna put you on speakerphone as well. You'll say, 'Hey, it's me,' when they answer the phone on the other end. Carmen, I'll pay you double your daily rate for today, and I'll apologize if the person on the other end doesn't know who you are. However, there's going to be a problem between us if the person on the other end knows who you are. A significant one." I turn on the speakerphone and press redial. This woman begins sobbing and telling me she actually made the call, that one of her relatives was ill or some other nonsense, as soon as the phone's key tones began beeping. In the midst of all this, my wife whispers to me, "This effing bee is wearing my boots." And I swear, I'm not making this up. I find it unbelievable. Carmen tells me that although she recently purchased the same model, these are not my wife's boots when I ask her about it. After that, my wife searches for her boots, but they're nowhere to be found. In addition, my spouse informs me that a few of her clothes are missing. Not only that, though, we used to stock a cabinet with all the cleaning supplies and soaps we purchased in large quantities. A bottle of shampoo would be the first item you would see if you were to open the cabinet. 20 identical shampoo bottles were located behind it. The same holds true for toothpaste, soap, conditioner, etc. Surprise! When I opened the supply cabinet, everything appeared to be normal, but upon closer inspection, I noticed that there were no longer 20 bottles behind the first bottle of shampoo. Perhaps 3 or 4 were present. The same applies to all other items. Thus, roughly 70% of the items in our supply cabinet were absent. Carmen repeatedly denied everything when I questioned her. After getting into a fairly heated argument, Lita, our new maid, returned from walking the dogs and asked to speak with me privately. As we head to the next room, she tells me she just had a conversation with the doorman. All condos in South America have one, usually more than one. The doorman informed her that Carmen had frequently left a bag of belongings at the front desk and asked him to hold on to it for her. When I visit the front desk, what do I discover? I'm talking about 6 pounds worth of coins in a bag, along with my wife's clothes, silverware, shampoo bottles, and other items. For months, this F&B has been gradually robbing us blind, methodically and systemically. I was gonna call the cops on her, but she had her daughter, a 5 or 6-year-old, right there with her, and they both started crying and making a scene worthy of Les Miserables. I just went Smeagol on her and told her to leave now and never come back. My employment began a few months after the outgoing manager's resignation. My staff adored her, and I quickly discovered why. She handled 80% of their work for them, never gave them a hard time, or even addressed any bad behavior. I wouldn't give a D if one woman consistently arrived late for her shifts, not by 5 minutes though. Every shift, she arrives 35 to 40 minutes late. After a few instances, I sat her down and let her know that punctuality is expected of her. We're having this discussion. Me. You really haven't been on time for the past 2 weeks, so you really need to quit arriving late. Her response. I can't help it. The bus I take is slow. Me. So you ride the bus earlier? Her. But then I would have to wake up 30 minutes earlier, start doing my chores 30 minutes earlier and all that. Me. Yeah, that's right. You go above and beyond to arrive at work on time. It's not as though attendance requires you to wake up at 5 in the morning. You don't start working until 1 or 2 p.m. This continues for about a week, during which she begins to arrive on time. However, one day she arrives 30 minutes after her shift ends, 3:35. She arrives and asks if she can go for a walk around the block during her 15-minute break. I tell her it's her break, so spend it however she pleases. 10 minutes after arriving at 3:45, she takes her 15-minute break. About 90 minutes later, while I'm working and everyone's busy, I say, hey, wait a minute, where's person's name? It's evident to all that she never returned from her break. I leave, asking my staff to keep me informed, since it's almost time for me to head home. We offer mental health services to individuals, and while I'm driving home, I get a call from another manager at one of our locations. She is Rip S. Her. Why the F is person's name over at my program? Me. Hold on, what? Her. Person's name showed up, demanded admission into the program, was told no because they didn't know who she was, and was then pushed by them according to a call I received from one of my employees. I happen to recognize the person who called me as one of your employees. Me. Are you S-ing me? 90 minutes ago she vanished and I have no idea where she is. Her. Claiming it was for a school project, she stormed into our program, walked over, and began talking to clients while taking down their personal details. Me. F me. Just fail on so many levels. Despite the fact that this woman was genuinely working on a school assignment, she was unable to comprehend my displeasure with her tardiness, her 10-minute break, her departure to another program, her assault on staff to obtain access, and her subsequent berating of other patients for their private medical records. When I laid it out for her like that, she said, yeah, but you said I could walk around the neighborhood when I took my 15. Ugh. How did you come to the realization that the COA, HOA, and neighbors are jerks? Part 4. I got a letter from my HOA a week after I moved in stating that I had been observed not picking up after my dog in the common area. That was a brazen falsehood. Every time I cleaned everything up. It couldn't have been anyone else because I didn't have a roommate at the time. Following the first warning, the fine would be $100 and thereafter $150. I replied in writing, letting them know that was not a proper way to welcome me to the neighborhood and that I didn't appreciate being misled and accused. I continued by telling them that my attorney would be contacting them for harassment if it occurred again, and they could not produce any documentation to support their allegations. Everybody who moved in with the dog would get treated that way by them. Depending on who they were for, they were always making up different parking regulations. We were unable to park anywhere on the road. Someone else might. I brought that up with them, and then whenever I saw a car parked, I called the president. He found the frequent calls annoying. I told him to screw off and have the same rules for everyone, or STFU, after I started parking on the street, and he said something. He STFU'd on it. They would gripe about the backyard, which you could only see if you made a conscious effort to look. They stated that they had to maintain the community's aesthetic appeal. I questioned why little liquor bottles and trash were left all over the place and never picked up during his beauty walks. Not a response. I called him to report him after making it a point to notice everything in his yard. It irritated him. I told him to stop bothering me or I would hire a lawyer because he was singling out this house and that had to stop right away or he would suffer the consequences. A year ago, I purchased an apartment in the Netherlands and moved in with my 2 dogs and girlfriend. My apartment is one of 4 that share a door with a small entryway, stairs, and another 4 doors. All of it's carpet with the exception of the stairs. Keep in mind that the HOA is in charge of the other areas in the building where the foyer is carpet-free. We decided to leave a towel for them to clean their paws when they come inside, except in the event of rain because carpet can get dirty and dogs aren't always extremely clean after a walk. The carpet in the entryway took a little damage, but the stairs leading up to the individual doors were left cleaner. I was the only one who cleaned it, maybe every 2 weeks. I received a direct complaint from a neighbor who said it was dirty. I threatened to not clean my dogs until I got into my apartment so we could either remove it and clean it all together. He said, "I don't care, let's keep it that way." About 6 months later, I receive an email from the HOA informing me that I need to clean the shared area and take down the towel. Despite the fact that it's a shared space, I tell them that I clean it alone every 2 weeks. I then go on to share with pictures how many items I've removed from the area over the past few months, underwear, firecrackers, lollipops, etc., and how few items the other neighbors have left there, bike pump, dumb Karen-like sign that says, "Live, laugh, love." In addition, they should know that since we're neighbors, they can reach me by ringing the bell rather than behaving like kindergartners who are whining to their teachers. I got a response saying that everyone had to clean and they would let the others know. That was never mentioned again, and until a few of them sold their apartments, I didn't see any of them cleaning it. The president of my HOA measured my weeds. My toddler joined in on her screams when she arrived at the door, startling my colicky newborn. My 7-year-old then told her, "I blame you. You woke the baby." He was over his younger siblings and the crying. The woman walked away. Her spouse arrived 10 minutes later to mow our front yard. It's exactly 2 feet by 3 feet. Took our request around, had neighbors sign off, did the paperwork, and dropped it off at the HOA office. The check was cashed right away. City approved the design. Solar goes in. We receive a denial of our dollar panels after 18 months due to non-payment of the paperwork fee. Emailed them copies of the canceled check. They refused. Threatened court. We sent in the copy of the check they cashed once more. This went on 2 to 3 months of weekly threats. Husband fiscally told them to go ahead with court. Never heard a word more. Sometimes I like living in an HOA, and the ones I've lived in were fine, but my parents' HOA is crazy. My dad was too weak to walk after receiving his cancer diagnosis and started chemotherapy. In order to facilitate his wheelchair access into the house, my parents built a ramp at the front entrance. The HOA president who lived next door became insane. She wanted my dad to show the neighborhood that he could walk and wasn't lying, and she also wanted appointment slips and doctor's notes. I had to take over because my mom is too passive and my dad was too weak to take action. I made a threat to hire an attorney and sue her directly. After a while, she gave in. After my dad passed away in April, she knocked on our door a week later, saying she had seen my dad being picked up by the funeral home and that we should remove the ramp now that he's finally dead, her exact words. That's when I reported her for stalking and harassment to the police right in front of her. Since I moved in with my mother, this woman has run back into her home whenever she sees me. She also follows neighborhood children home for school and inquires about their names and residences, presumably to find out if they really live there. My neighbors and I have frequently caught her spying on our backyards. Update. I decided to follow a few pieces of advice. First, I talked to all the parents whose children she harassed. They've agreed to file a legal action against her for harassment of minors. Also, we decided to hold a meeting of our HOA, which has not been public for a very long time because in most cases, the president along with the chairman did not tell the residents when there would be a meeting, but just held it without inviting anyone. At this meeting, there were at least 80% of the tenants. We raised the issue of accelerating the president out of her position. She threw such a tantrum but could do nothing. She was fired and the other board members resigned along with her. We were able to elect a new one and I hope it'll be better. But that's not the end of it. The former HOA presentation was taken out of the meeting place in handcuffs. The cop showed up and said she was facing charges. She threw another tantrum and attacked one of them. Now she's under arrest and waiting trial. I hope I don't see her for a long time. If you want to watch the part 3, click the link here. We're very glad to see you all in the comments again. Many thanks for your support.